Welcome to Fly Little Birds. My name is Nairi. I've got 2 adopted sons and we were foster carers as well. I talk about fostering, adoption, childhood trauma on the channel. Please subscribe if you think that might be useful to you. Today we're going to talk about how long fostering and adoption actually takes. So I'm going to try and cover both along in the strands for you and give you a little flavour of how long roughly I think things will take. It's going to vary. I'm sure you understand. It's going to vary. So first of all, the initial stages, the references, the checks, the medicals, those types of things. Generally speaking, I would say around about 2 to 3 months for either fostering or adoption. I don't think there's a huge amount of difference between what happens for both. I think the checks and the references and things are very similar. I mean, adoption might be slightly more intense, but I think the time scale would be roughly the same for those initial stages. In the UK it's called stage 1, but those initial stages, I think 2 to 3 months would be a fair estimate. The only thing that would change that is if in fact you've had lots of house moves, lots of changes, criminal record there in the background. Something that kind of gets flagged up during that process might well delay it. The next thing that would happen for foster carers or foster parents, I think this happens across the board in different countries, maybe you can let me know in the comments, is you would have some sort of initiation kind of training. That might be say 4 to 6 weeks, where you're giving a flavour of the types of children that you would be fostering and the requirements in that, and just giving an idea of what types of things will be happening during the fostering process and when the children come in. I don't think you normally get that for adoption. Some adoption agencies will give you some initial training before you even get going on the process, but I think a lot wouldn't. What they would be doing is they would just be doing that initial home check, coming in and doing kind of like a semi-interview with you, and the initial training probably wouldn't happen, so you wouldn't get that in the same way. Your training will happen probably alongside the assessment process, so there isn't really a separate section before the assessment process normally. Sometimes there is, but normally for training. The next thing that will happen for both fostering and adoption is the main chunk of the assessment, and I would say for adopters this would be deeper. This would be more involved, and as I say, it will run alongside the training. For foster carers though, there will be several sessions where you'll have to go into family history, education, your relationship, your health, basic things. So it is similar, but the adoption is deeper. It's going to ask a lot more. It's probably going to go a lot deeper into how your family feel about you adopting. So it's going to take, I would say, longer. So for the foster carers, I would say around about 3 to 4 months for that. I would say for adopters maybe more like 6 months for that. But again, if there are changes within that and things happen or get thrown up within that, then the fostering one could take longer. If you're really kind of on the ball and the social workers is doing loads and loads of visits, then the adoption one could take a little bit shorter. But generally I'd say the adoption one would take longer. So for a decision for becoming a foster carer and an adopter, again, I think it's going to be more involved with adoption. In our country there are 2 panels, so it's definitely more involved. So in our country I think you'd be looking more like kind of 1 to 3 to 4 months before you get before both panels, because it's going to involve you actually being approved as an adopter and matched to children. For just foster carers though, and wherever you are, it shouldn't really take more than about a month to get you booked on to decision making for actually saying yes, you're okay as a foster carer. But of course that's going to depend on waiting lists, panels, people sitting to make those decisions. So I think you can safely say between 1 and 4 months for this stage for foster carers or adopters. And then on top of this, of course, you've got the matching process in our country would then take another few months on top. So what I'm going to say for a guide then for domestic fostering and adoption is I'm going to say around about 6 months for a foster carer would be good, but definitely possible. Probably it would be longer, but it definitely is manageable within 6 months. I think for an adoption you're more likely to be looking at between 9 and 12 months, as long as there's no delays and hold-ups. However, if you get through the process quickly and you are matched to a child really quickly, so say you're going through the process and your social worker already has a particular child in mind on their on their books for you, and you go to matching panel really quickly after that initial decision, adoption, or you're in a country where the whole thing happens together, so you get approved as an adopter and you get matched your child in the same decision making process, then I think it could be less than 9 months, it could be 7 or 8 months. But I think as a guide, you're looking around 6 months for fostering and around 9 to 12 months for adoption. I hope that helps you. It's as long as a piece of string because it can vary so much, but I hope it helps you if you're thinking about fostering or adoption, you're not sure what route to go down, or if you want to go down one of those routes and you were just curious as to actually how long in your life this might take out. I hope that helps you. Don't hold me to those timescales because there's so many factors that can change it. If you found that useful, please subscribe. I will link some other videos at the end for you about basic adoption and fostering process so you can see those, and I hope you enjoy Fly Little Birds, my channel. Thank you.